Good morning and welcome to day 3 of the Raisina Dialogue. Uh, the session this morning has 4 spectacular speakers. I assure you, I've heard all 4 of them before and they're all very good. The issue before us needs a little context. In the medieval and early modern ages, more than nation states, it was cities that dominated our landscape as diplomatic hubs, as business hubs, as independent military actors as well. Venice and Vienna in Europe, Madurai, Surat, Hampi in India, all of these are examples. In the early 19th century, when Amschel Rothschild sent his 5 sons across Europe, he sent them to the big cities of Europe, not the big countries or nation states of Europe. In our times as well, a globalized economy has spawned global cities which compete for talent, for tourists, and serve as business as well as leisure hubs. In this century, our 21st century, cities and urban mega regions that combine both those pursuits, leisure and economy, will surpass many others, most others. That is at the heart of our conversation today. Let me begin with the first question, which is to Mohammed Nasheed. You come from the Maldives, one of the most beautiful and holiday destinations on our planet. How does the Maldives and how do the islands of the Maldives retain tourists and convert them into full-time working professionals or even digital nomads? In essence, how can the islands of the Maldives become Singapore? Do you even aspire to being Singapore? Over to you.
Well, thank you very much. And first, thank you very much for inviting me here. It's been lovely. We started tourism in the Maldives during the 1970s. No one thought that we can make a living out of it. Funnily enough, there is a UN report that suggests that we shouldn't think about it. But we've made an industry out of it. And I think we've brought a whole lot of concepts to the whole vocabulary of many languages around our tourism industry. You would remember previously you would be talking about a seaside holiday, but now you talk about a beach holiday. So we've made tourism a brand, a culture that others also now want to do the same in similar fashion. I am learning about the Red Sea Maldives resorts. So any resort becomes a Maldives thing. So we, on the back of this tourism, we have become a middle-income country. Our per capita now is at $14,000. Literacy rate has jumped to 99%. Mortality, death rates, and we've done much better through tourism. And your question suggested now what do we do going forward? Now, COVID showed us a pathway. People started coming to the Maldives and not leaving, stayed for longer periods of time. So with good digital infrastructure, it is possible for many companies and many professionals to stay in the Maldives and do their work. Working from home took a new meaning during COVID, and therefore you could be working in the Maldives, and Maldives can very easily be home. So we brought the infrastructure for that as well, which would be kind of trying to say that you can have your second home in the Maldives and then live there and work from the Maldives. Now, how do we do that? How do you get the tourists come to the Maldives? 70% of Maldives tourists who come there are repeaters. So how you get them to come there is by knowing where the tourist left her hairpin. It's a guest relations thing, and you try to understand the sentiments, the needs of the guest, and then try to provide that. Of course, you need all the infrastructure, water, electricity, embankments, and so on. But the tourist is very, very conscious of the environment. So you do not destroy the environment, but you make the environment your product. Do not build a breakwater, an artificial breakwater, but grow your reef. Implant a mangrove to protect your shoreline. Recycle your waste to zero. So there's a whole lot of environment matters that you have to invest in to get the tourists coming. And because we fortunately are able to do that, they are coming. Now, your question about Singapore, I think we are quite happy being who we are. And I think being a Maldivian is not a bad idea. Yes, of course, there's a whole lot of new things that we still need to do, but we are an island nation. We are almost 2,000 islands, and we are not a small island nation, we are a big ocean state. We are 1,000 kilometers from north to south. We are 600 kilometers from east to west. So we occupy the navigable parts of the Indian Ocean. And so we are not Singapore, and we would like to remain as an island nation, a big ocean state.
Thank you. Well put. James Lawless, we moved from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic. Ireland is the poster child of economic integration, a knowledge economy, a friendly tax location, favorite domicile for MNCs and millionaires, including many Indian millionaires. Today, Brexit some years ago, and then the pushback against globalization, the rising tides of protectionism in the US, anti-avoidance tax measures everywhere, all of these are challenges. Can the Celtic tiger lick geopolitics?
Good morning, and it's great to be here and delighted to be part of the discussion. And I'm a tourist myself in a way, because part of the reason for my trade mission this week is because it's our national holiday, St. Patrick's Day, the Irish national celebration. And our tradition is that our government, our ministers, we travel. We don't celebrate at home. We actually bring the message to the world, like maybe old missionaries of old or trade missions of today. Can the Celtic tiger lick geopolitics? Yes. So we are also an island nation. I listened with great interest to the Maldives story. Ireland is also an island nation. And we used to have a debate, were we closer to Boston or Berlin in Ireland? And I think actually we are nicely between the two. We have a foot in both camps. We are a country who was still a very proud member of the European Union, very much at the heart of the Union. And we celebrated our 50 years of membership quite recently. In fact, the first European Council was held in Dublin 50 years ago. But we still have very good relations with the United States. Sometimes we say next stop America when we come to the west coast of Ireland. And if people come for tourism to Ireland, you'll see our beautiful west coast, our Atlantic cliffs, our wonderful coastline, where the poet W.B. Yeats described as a terrible beauty on the west coast as we look to the Atlantic. But if we cross that sea, we're into America. And if we cross the smaller sea to our other coast, we're into the UK. And we have maintained good relationships. We have a common travel area with the UK also. So we have actually, I think, the best of both worlds. Solidly proud, confident member of the EU, but also with relationships with the other big states. We are, in terms of the Celtic tiger, I think we are post-Celtic tiger now. With the Celtic tiger roared, Ireland went from being a challenged nation. We have had a love-hate relationship with our British neighbours for some centuries, and I know that's not unique to Ireland. India has a similar experience. We were colonised, and we fought against them for centuries, but also they are our friends and neighbours, and in many cases families crisscross both sides of the Irish Sea. But we had a rapid period of growth in the late, I suppose, in the late 60s on. We had free education actually powered our economy, which went to, as you said, the knowledge economy, and we're now home to many of the world's largest tech industries, advanced manufacturing, pharma, life sciences, engineering, STEM, and all of those industries. So we have actually gone to, I think, a period of more sustainable growth. We're still growing year on year. We're still home we attract many, both corporations and foreign nationals every year. But we're in a sustainable period. The Celtic tiger has grown up and taken its place and continues to purr, but perhaps it roars less often, but it purrs nicely most of the time. So we're competing with the same challenges as everybody else, but I think we are holding our own. And I suppose in terms of a tourism offering, it's something that we are strong on also. It's something that, and I listened to I think the point about remote working and how it's changed tourism from my colleague from the Maldives was very interesting. And people perhaps don't choose to work in Ireland from other countries during COVID. It's not quite as scenic perhaps as the Maldives, although in a different way, I'd argue maybe. But people within the country, we have domestic tourism. So somebody that lived in the capital city and was in an apartment and working in an office Monday to Friday for years, maybe decides now that the family ties are down in the rural areas, or they have family at home, or they always wanted to live in a little bit of land or have a farmer's cottage. They can do that now. So we are finding that our rural areas, our regions are actually being revitalized because people are becoming tourists in their own country, and they're spending a few days buying the holiday home, buying the cottage down west or down southeast, and suddenly that's revitalizing. So that's actually been good for our regional economy. So tourism is international, but also we have movement within the country as well. And I think that's actually, it's been a new breath of life for a lot of older towns and villages outside the urban areas.
Thank you, James Lawless. I must tell you, when Ireland plays England at cricket, you have more Indians cheering for Ireland than is the population of Ireland. Noura bint Mohammed Al-Kaabi. Many cities have tried and made themselves business and industry friendly. Few have shown the gumption or invested the resources to creating a bottom-up cultural ecosystem, complete with some of Asia's finest museums. What explains Abu Dhabi's unusual pivot? Is it a recognition, and I ask you this in your capacity as foreign minister, that cities are sometimes the best exposition of a nation's soft power?
First of all, good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with my co-panelist in beautiful New Delhi, another city that stems from its culture, beauty, and most importantly, the hospitality of the people. So talking about Abu Dhabi, of course, as the capital of the UAE, and we've been always looking at how it's important for a city or a country, not just to be to have a nice infrastructure and maybe nice touristic destinations, but what is the glue? What connects each part of the city or the town when it comes to what we're trying to work on? From a policy perspective, we focused on a policy that looks at creative industries, and to understand how culture can flourish is making sure that numbers matter and understanding that this will influence the future of contribution of a GDP. Then therefore, how this can also be a platform to attract companies, institutions, museums, universities that looks at the creative industries perspective. Now, looking at the museums we have, for example, in Abu Dhabi, we have the Saadiyat district. Yes, we inaugurated the Louvre Abu Dhabi more than 5 years ago. We're having the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi, the Zayed National Museum, the Team Lab from Japan, a historic museum. That by itself is all in a neighborhood that also sheds a light in terms of the importance of coexistence. So we have the Abrahamic family house, where it's more of a community for everyone to gather there, a church and a synagogue and a mosque at the same place. We have the Bab's Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi as well. A couple of days ago, they had a huge iftar gathering at the Bab's Hindu temple. So the bottom-up approach that you're talking about is an approach where people understand that a city is live because how they're connecting and conversating with one another and having respect and a dialogue with one another. I want to mention how important it is also for us in Abu Dhabi to attract more Bollywood creatives. We introduced a 30% and now included more 20% into film rebate. So this is by itself is a magnet to get more Bollywood films. What does it mean when I get more Bollywood films? Well, I grew up watching Bollywood films and enjoying them. I'm not going to say the names because you're going to know my age if I start with the classics. One of them, it's Amar Akbar Anthony, because again, we're talking about coexistence, and this is one of the amazing classics in Bollywood. But that by itself, you get the talents and you get what comes with it, the costumes, the set, the tourism, the services around every element of a shooting, the movie itself. And there's an interesting story where back then we wanted to build a set in the desert, in the middle of the desert in Abu Dhabi, and that was for the Star Wars, The Force Awakens film. We had only 3 weeks to decide who will build for us the set, how can we connect Hollywood, Disney, Lucasfilms with the set designers from Bollywood. They built the set in 3 weeks, and it was the most beautiful Jakku or a planet for Star Wars. And that you as well in Abu Dhabi, not just connecting the internal of a city, of an institutions, but getting also players from different parts of the world and helping it to grow further. So there is the policy. There are, of course, the diversity of a population. We in the UAE have more than 9 million residents. 3 million of them are from India, and where I love that they call the UAE home. So what will make a city is its people and how it respects where they come from, what they believe in, and how can to provide them with that platform from culture, from worship, from education, and as well making sure that it's a place for their families and where they can call the UAE or Abu Dhabi home.
What will make a city a city? There is food for thought there. Thank you. Amitabh Kant, in your long and distinguished career, you've worn many hats. I'd like to take you back to 2 of them. One, your very rich experience in the Ministry of Tourism. Second, as CEO of the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, you attempted to put in place fiscal and regulatory building blocks to create new business cities, new economic hubs. How do these 2 endeavors, building new cities and tourism, intersect?
So Ashok, first and foremost, it's important to realize that cities are centers of growth, they're centers of innovation, they're centers of great prosperity, and therefore, if India is going to see 500 million people getting into the process of urbanization in the next 5 decades, that means the challenge for India is to create 2 Americas in the next 5 decades. India will have to create a new Chicago every 5 years. Now, what we had attempted in DMICDC when we created Dholera or Shindra, Britkin, all these are completely new greenfield cities, was that you create walk to work, and cities are created when manufacturing blends with good living. So these cities were very well planned. They are drainage, they are sewage. They were not sprawling cities, because when America urbanized, they created sprawling cities. The car companies bought over the railway companies and destroyed them so that cars could sell. And the cities were made for cars and not made for people. But today's cities have to be compact, they have to be dense, they have to be vertical. And there is better livability when you have verticality of cities today. That's what many cities, including Singapore, have established. So you need India to create many more cities. You have to revitalize existing cities. Just to give you a perspective, the GDP of Mumbai today is more than the GDP of 18 Indian states. And the GDP of one city in UP, that's Gautam Budh Nagar, Noida and Greater Noida, is 12 times more than the second biggest city of UP, that's Kanpur. 12 times more. That's the kind of growth, that's the kind of GDP, that's the kind of innovation, that's the kind of job creation which new cities will create. And therefore, India has been a very reluctant urbanizer. Every state must clearly revitalize existing cities and must make cities the engine of growth. Without that, it'll be very difficult to achieve the $30+ trillion vision of the Prime Minister of Viksit Bharat, and it'll be very difficult to create jobs. Now, in existing cities, the kind of heritage India has, very few states in the world have. And therefore, tourism can be a very, very big driver of job creation. It has a huge multiplier impact in terms of both hard infrastructure, in terms of soft infrastructure. But the fact is that the wealth of heritage, the wealth of the tourism assets which India has, no other country in the world has, and that we need to utilize to its full potential in the days to come. And that can be a very big driver of both growth and job creation for it.
You know, that was a power-packed and very rich intervention. It made one very important point, which would be relevant to you, Mohammed Nasheed: sustainability, sustainable cities. Few locations are as vulnerable to climate change as the Maldives. Is a trade-off between economic aspirations and sustainability inevitable for the Maldives? And will that, to some degree, constrict your dreams?
Well, I think firstly, what we should all understand and believe is it's not the little Maldives that is being impacted by climate change. Everyone. What happens to the Maldives happens twice in size in bigger countries. So every country is vulnerable to climate change. Looking after nature must be development. That is the new idea of prosperity. Now I work for the Climate Vulnerable Forum V20, and I reside in Accra as the Secretary General of this forum. We develop what we call the climate prosperity plans. These are low carbon development strategies that would give you the same economic outcomes of GDP growth, employment, low inflation, but with less damage to the planet. So we are looking at ways of doing things differently. Different ways of irrigation, different ways of production, different ways of harvesting, different ways of building, always keeping climate at the center. Now, how will the Maldives survive? I have no doubt that we will survive. That is by proper adaptation. And to think that adaptation is concrete is madness. If you think that a few millimeters of steel is going to save you, then I think it is very naive. We do not know the ferocity of the next wave. We actually do not know how much rain is going to come upon us during the next monsoon. We just do not know that yet. And we don't have that kind of science with us. But we must be more prepared for the rains, for the high waves, for the swells, for the heat, for all the changes that we are seeing. Now, how do we prepare ourselves? Thus, this must be through nature-based solutions. And to bring these nature-based solutions and to bring these investments, again, we must put climate at the center of our financial thinking as well, as our economic thinking as well. We might think with all these disruptions in the news, with President Trump and the United States, we are still having climate headlining. This never used to be the case. Even now, even today, after 4 news headlines of President Trump, then there would be a climate headline. So if this is happening to everyone, it's not the Maldives. Maldives would probably survive, And I am far more worried about bigger nations who have a view that because of their bigness, that they can survive and it's going to happen to someone else. No, it is happening to all of us. The floods are coming, the droughts are coming, the winds are stronger, the waves are higher, and we must all be mindful. Do not try to work against nature. Looking after nature is development. There is climate prosperity. The new economics must be prosperity by looking after nature. And that is possible, and that's what we are going to do, and that is how we are going to survive. Thank you.
Sobering words, climate and climate change are a forgotten crisis in some respect, unfortunate. James Lawless, 2 evenings ago, the Indian Commerce Minister was at this conference and spoke about negotiating the India-US and India-UK FTAs, or trade agreements. As these processes advance, is there a FOMO, a fear of missing out in Ireland? Because as the English-speaking country in Europe, Ireland would benefit disproportionately from an India-EU FTA or trade agreement. Quite honestly, each time I buy a Bushmill 16-year-old, I really miss that FTA. It would make my life easier. More seriously, would Dublin continue to be comfortable in these times with the new faces, the migration, the multiculturalism, even the new skin tones, if I could use a crude expression, that is an inevitable corollary of more trade, more tourism, and a bigger, more vibrant student community?
So I think I'll take the Bushmills first, the point. So there is possibly a trade war, we know, starting across the Atlantic, maybe across the Pacific, maybe a few places. And American bourbon is in the sights of the EU. But as a member of the EU with 450 million people in a free market, I don't need to drink American bourbon because I can drink French wine, German beer, Swedish vodka, and my favorite, Indian gin. So we have lots of choice. So is there a fear of missing out? So we have, as I say, the EU has trade agreements with 70 countries. And there are no tariffs on those agreements, actually, which is even better. I look at Canada, and the EU and Ireland are performing the CETA deal, the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, no tariffs. We might cross the Atlantic to north of North America a lot faster than we will to the USA through the CETA deal. So we're benefiting, actually, from being part of a large trading bloc which enters into agreements elsewhere. We want to pursue the EU-India FTA, very much so, and the College of Commissioners, so President van der Leyen for the European Commission, my colleague, Commissioner Michael McGrath, who is the Law and Order Commissioner in the EU, and several others came to India last month to progress that agreement. And it is something that is a huge priority. Ireland alone does 16 billion euro worth of trade with India every year. The EU as a whole will do much more business, and India is a key strategic partner for Ireland and for the EU, and that's partly why I'm here. I'm voting with my feet because I want to develop those connections and those relationships. So we will continue to work those and progress those, and absolutely we believe in free trade, and we believe in tariff-free trade as well. We have an open economy. We are, as you said, an English-speaking nation, and we have a lot of history, a lot of shared history, and we actually welcome, so in the next part of the question about a diverse society, I think we're already that diverse society. We're already a very cosmopolitan. I was looking at some figures before today. So of our current population in Ireland, the single largest bloc, as you would imagine, are Irish. The next biggest is Poland. We've had a lot of migration from Eastern Europe. Then we have UK, as I say, our friends and neighbours across the sea. But the third largest group outside of Irish is Indian. There are a very significant number of Indians in the population working, many working in the tech sectors, the healthcare sectors, but also in our student population. Indians are the largest, outside the EU, the largest single bloc Indians make up the student body. And we are very, I think, attractive, and I hope, and that's maybe borne out by the figures, and welcoming. So we're a diverse society. And I think one of the benefits, I think, that we have of not, UK left European Union for their own reasons. USA are going a particular direction now. I think that Ireland stands for a more open, more progressive, more diverse, more tolerant, all-encompassing society, as well as an economy. So I'm proud of our position. I'm proud that we haven't gone that route, actually. I think it's better to be together. We have a saying in Irish, Ní Ceart ar Cur Céile, together we are stronger. And we are global citizens, and we are welcoming citizens, and we are part of the open world, not the closed one.
Thank you. Noura bint Muhammad Al-Kaabi. James Lawless spoke about the many Indians in Ireland. There are even more numbers of Indians in the UAE. We in India often joke that Dubai and Abu Dhabi are the most efficient and well-organized Indian cities. More seriously, where does India fit into the Emirates' global city strategy? Do you see India as part of your extended geography? US passport control operates in Abu Dhabi. I've used it. Could someday Indian passport control operate in Abu Dhabi as well?
Well, I mean, talking about the UAE's ties or relationship with India is just, it goes back hundreds of years. I mean, the trade and how it also influenced our first currency. Before the UAE dirhams, we used the rupee. You guys flavored our food with the spices. I can't imagine food, a dish without the yummy spices and the silk and the design of pearls. So I think that kind of a beauty of connection when it comes to historical ties is there. Now, of course, it's the largest community in the UAE, which we cherish. The UAE is also a home of, it's a tax haven. And offering the talent visa or the golden visa is something that we're really, very focused on to make sure that, this is where a country wants to encourage such talents to nourish and to be part of its prosperity and progress. For us, the UAE and India's relationship is always a benchmark, specifically when it comes to the free trade deal, the CEPA deal. We always say it took us 80 days to conclude a CEPA deal with India, which is always a note that we use in all of our meetings with countries that are hesitant with the free trade deal due to certain reasons. This is number one. Number two, due to that, our trade is beyond $80 billion. On a daily basis, we have 160 flights from the UAE to India. That by itself is going back to the point that the UAE and India relationship is not just a bilateral relationship, it's a universal relationship, because our gate to India, also the UAE is a gate to India as well. It's both ways at the same time when it comes to transportation and more than that. Of course, there's the cultural element that we're working on with institutionalizing it in the future. We're going to work on task forces and culture council committees. This is something that Foreign Minister Jaishankar really is focused on with our Foreign Minister, His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed. How can we not just diversify our cultural ties, but they're deep, and therefore we want to make sure that there's as well more to do when it comes to literature, when it comes to performances, and when it comes to media and film and technology. And I think by answering your question in terms of a visa or a customs gate similar to the one we have with other countries, yes, we should work on that. We want to work on getting more tourists from India because again, for us, it's a young nation. It's a nation that has lots of potential, and it's a nation that, of course, we want to. Just see how can the people-to-people connection go further. We last year there was the IIT college opened a campus in Abu Dhabi, and the numbers are growing. And I think for us, we also want to look at how universities from India, which are highly ranked, are also based in Abu Dhabi and have a more of a diversify also students and intakes that can take the education partnership to another level. It's a beautiful relationship, a strong relationship, and I think anyone who doesn't have India in their top priorities when it comes to foreign ministries is just missing out. So I know here is the future, and there's more to do with India and the talents and the people of India. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I come to Amitabh Kant, we'll have about 2 or 3 minutes for questions from the audience. There are mics on either side of the hall, so please make your way there if you have a question. Following what Noura bint Muhammad Al-Kaabi just said, there is a certain irony that cities in India, such as Mumbai or Bombay, were once models for the UAE, and today Abu Dhabi and Dubai are models for India. In the states of the US, the biggest city, the most vibrant cultural and business city is usually not the political capital of the province. So Sacramento is the capital of California, not Los Angeles or San Diego or San Francisco. New York City is not the capital of New York State, Albany is. In India, it's the reverse. Do our provinces and our provincial politics, our provincial urges tend to overwhelm our biggest cities? And what is the way out?
So first and foremost, let me compliment you for that very significant question, but what I've seen in recent times is a huge growth in new centers. I was in Indore recently, and I saw this remarkable transformation of Indore. I was in Surat, and I've seen Surat 2 decades back, and I've seen it now. It's been a remarkable transformation. Similarly, in Mysore, I mean, these are really sparkling, clean, tidy cities with a great sense of pride by the citizens of these cities. So what I'm seeing is that completely new cities are emerging in India, other than, there are new cities like Gurgaon, or there is a new city like Noida, or you have Dholera in Gujarat, or you have Shendra, Bitkin. But even the traditional cities, there is a great sense of pride. And great thing is that the citizens have a great sense of ownership in these cities. So what I feel is that in the coming years, you will have many more. In India, the demonstration effect of these cities will start to happen. You've already had these 100 smart cities movement, which has seen a huge amount of investments and transformation of many of these cities. And what you will see is a huge, huge transformation. The movement for good, smart urbanization has begun in a very big way in India. And urbanization will be the big driver. The key challenge to my mind is that cities work on experiences. They need to be differentiated. We should never ape the West. Never ape the West and create a separate experience for each one of these states, because India is too large a nation. We are bigger than 24 countries of Europe. And every state and every city must create its own unique experiences. Like Kerala didn't ape the West. It went back to its Ayurveda, its backwaters, its houseboats, and therefore it created its unique brand of God's own country. And to my mind, while incredible India is to be the mother brand, you need a series of state brands, and you need a series of city brands in India. And many of these city brands actually have to become more powerful than the state brand, and even more powerful than the country brand in due course. And cities must excel, and they must lead the way to India's growth and prosperity in the years to come.
Indian cities as brands, a wonderful idea. We are almost completely out of time. We'll have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. I'll turn first to the young fellows at the back of the room. I can see a lady in front of the mic. Please ask your question. Identify yourself, your institution, and ask the question.
Okay, thank you. I'm Olga from Russia. I'm from Moscow, one of the most popular tourist city, and I have a question. how do you see ways to address the issue of rising tourist costs, declining quality of services, and inaccessibility for middle class, while ensuring inclusivity? Thank you.
Okay, and another question from this side of the room. Is there anyone? Yes.
Hello, I'm audible.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
Ganesh from Mahe, Bengaluru. So the question is to Amitabh sir. So isn't tourism about, say, just attracting visitors or generating economic like businesses? But isn't it about protecting the stories or the traditions and the identity that the places have? So that's my question. Thank you.
I'd request Amitabh Khan to answer that and then maybe move to anyone else who has a comment to make, because both questions are tourism related.
So firstly, let me respond to my friend from Russia, that Moscow is a great city, but I think St. Petersburg is even a greater city. And I link it to the second question that was asked, is that both these cities are built on experiences, as I said. It is very much about storytelling, it's about heritage, it's about bringing that city alive, making it a very vibrant, dynamic city, much like St. Petersburg is, or much like Moscow you've tried to do. So many Indian cities have attempted to create that unique experience and storytelling. If you go to Hampi or if you go to Khajuraho, these are great experiences which are told about. Or if you go to, Tanjore, for instance, so if you go to Mahabalipuram, for instance, the guides take you through such a spectacular experiential tour which you can never get from anywhere else. And therefore, it's to my mind, building a destination is about creating, differentiating it. There are 200 destinations competing in the marketplace. How do you differentiate yourself from the rest of the world is important. How do you create a local experience which is very distinct is important. How do you do the storytelling about it is very critical and important. And therefore, all this experiences combined together to create a great experience and a great destination.
Thank you so much. We're completely out of time. I'm going to use my moderator's prerogative to turn to Noura bint Muhammad Al-Kaabi and give her the last word answering both those questions.
Thank you. Well, definitely. I mean, going back to the first question, yeah, I mean, great cities. I've been to St. Petersburg. It's one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever seen. And I think those cities, and going back to how important is such cities open the market even further when it comes to what are the levels of tourism and in terms of also the middle class and how they, and there are some students who wants to also visit, or the backpackers. How can you make sure that you have the right facilities to them and how it's connected to and not isolated from other facilities that will help them enjoy the city itself. When it comes to a story, I think we are in a race right now. Each city, I mean, there was a time where we kind of looked the same when it comes to globalization and it comes to consumption. And now, what will be what will be your differentiator or your unique proposition? And that by itself gets us to understand, okay, what's the history? What's the heritage? How can I know better and I know more about those people when it comes to their stories, to their previous leaders or the founders of their nations and to their values, and therefore their museums. But how can you add the element of it being a universal museum, such as the Louvre in Abu Dhabi? You go to the museum, you feel that you're in a universal one. You don't feel that the civilizations are segregated due to a certain kind of an element, geographical element, but you feel that you're in one world. So I think we're now asking ourselves, we have audiences are, the attention of span, and we were talking about it yesterday at dinner, is very short. The TikTokers, will go to a certain restaurant I will tell you a story of maybe the city. Some people will go to a city for a certain restaurant or a certain street food. They will go for that, and they will stand in a queue and for 2 days, and that will be everything they want to add on their social media. It's fine, because this is also a game changer. A story that we are enjoying right now in the UAE is the Dubai chocolate, the Dubai fixed chocolate. I go around and, it's a great story. You can Google it later. But I was in Geneva and I see a Lindt brand, imitating the Dubai chocolate. And it's a homegrown chocolate. And, and I think all stories matter. But what is really important is how to differentiate yourself from others and make sure that you never forget your identity, your heritage, and your historical ties and values when it comes to the storytelling element. Thank you.
Well put. All stories matter. Make your story matter. Make your city story matter. Thank you so much. A round of applause for all our panelists. I now hand it back to the organizers.